This is the FMCG podcast. We speak with the leaders of today and hear their advice on how you can develop your leadership potential. Today, we're joined by Neil Nugent of Panku Streetfood, and we are talking all things innovation, food manufacturing, in-store retail concepts, and retail. Stay tuned and hear Neil's top tips on how you can develop as an innovation leader. This podcast has been made in association with FMCGjobs.com, the live job board for fast-moving careers. Head to FMCGjobs.com to find out how they can support you as a candidate or a client. Let's get to it. Hi, good morning. My name's Rich and we're Consumer Hub, and this is the FMCG podcast. And we're joined today with Neil Nugent, who is an innovations chef who's had a huge, interesting career across retailers and also suppliers, and more recently with a new venture, Pancu. So Neil's very kindly agreed to come on the podcast and give us a bit more of an insight into what a career in innovation looks like, and also what successful recipe development can be in your career too. So Neil, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Just for the guys out there that maybe don't know you or the brand, could you just give us a quick sort of headline on you, what you're all about, and also Panku at the moment, what you're doing there?
Well, I'm a chef really, and that's sort of cook stuff, and has sort of fallen into doing stuff for retailers for the last 25 years, and I've worked with. I worked for a number of supermarkets, like, started with Asda, then Waitrose and Morrison's and Iceland, and so that's like 20 odd years of retail, and doing either running their product development function or innovation function or both. Sometimes a bit of technical stuff as well, but generally developing new products for retailers, that's been fun. And before that, I did a dozen years or so as a chef in restaurants. I've also dabbled in having my own restaurants and stuff. But the last couple of years, I've worked for myself, and we've set up a number of things. And one of them's Pancu, which is a concession which sits in Asda, and it's sort of mainly does sushi and sort of Asian meals. Panku means punk in Japanese, so it's a bit. We like to think it's a bit street foody, edgy, and we do katsu, and we sell loads of them little moons and stuff like that as well. Which everyone's gone a bit mad for at the moment, but we do things like we step into sort of Southeast Asian a little bit, like a bit of Korean, bulgogi, stuff like that, and Korean fried chicken, as well as sushi, like I say. Yeah, that's what we do.
Cool. Thanks for the whistle-stop tour, Neil. And am I right in thinking Panku, the name's important to you? Are you a retired punk yourself, or? Well,
I suppose it was just a brilliant. My business partner Andy came up with it. He said, "Oh, Panku means punk," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's it. That's got to be it." We're all into punk in there. I was a little bit late into punk. It was sort of in the late 70s, and I didn't get into it until the 80s, and I feel like I missed the boat somehow. But anyway, frustrated punk, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. You can relive the punk days with Panku. So it's really interesting that you've kind of started off as a chef, and then you've moved supply side, and then retail side, and then you kind of come full circle, and I guess by sounds of it, you're doing a bit of a hybrid thing between your own chefing, but kind of integrating that with some front store theatre and a really interesting concession. What made you sort of spot the opportunity for that concept? Like, where did the idea come from?
Well, we'd been working with the idea of Panku for I don't know, a year or so, and we'd been talking to Yo's Sushi about perhaps doing a joint venture with them, maybe opening a kind of bricks and mortar type classic restaurant, or we were looking at a couple of properties in Leeds where we might do something a little bit different. And then the guy who runs Yo is a guy called Richard Hodgson, and he used to work at Asda, and and we saw this announcement that they were taking out all their fishmongers and butchers. And we decided to take the Panku concept, as a concession and present it to the Asda team. And it was a little bit of a, kind of positive perfect storm, I suppose. And and that's how it came about. And we were kind of presenting it not as a sushi brand, but as something that could flex throughout the day, where we're kind of, a lot of people have sushi at lunchtime, and then we'll prepare meals in the afternoon. So that 4 o'clock little rush that you get into the supermarkets, there was some dinner for tonight, if you like.
Yeah.
And some new options and stuff that you don't, Asda don't sell the stuff that we were making. So it was all new to the Asda customer. So that's kind of worked, and we can really flex it about a bit. So what we sell in Killingbeck outside of Leeds is very different from what we sell in Clapham store, and we've got a kind of wide enough menu and repertoire of dishes that we can flex it to the customer, So and that was attractive to Asda, and then a year ago we were just about opened 6 a year ago to and then we just closed them all during first lockdown, and I thought that was it. It's all over. We're doomed, but we ended up opening 37 of them during COVID, which is astonishing, really.
It's amazing.
And it's just gone from strength to strength, and the Asda team have been brilliant. The Yo team of the operators, they're brilliant. We've been, coming up with new recipes and new ideas, and the sales are pretty strong. So hopefully we'll open a bunch more. We're opening a bunch more in end of May, beginning of June. And then hopefully we'll do a few more through the summer. So yeah, it's a positive story. But if we'd done this interview a year ago now, my head would have been in my hands a little bit, kind of, oh God, the world's ending, bloody hell.
You'd have been thinking about setting up a punk band instead, Neil. Taking the side hustle mainstream.
Yeah. Well, get flipping burgers on the A64 or something like that, maybe, something. It was just but we've been really lucky, and touch wood and stuff. It's going to continue that way. It's it's worked out okay in the end, but it's definitely had a rocky start, that's for sure.
But it sounds like it's really disrupting that fresh in store kind of concept, because something that I wanted to ask you about is what you think are some of the key trends in the fresh in store concept as an idea more generally, because I've noticed there is a lot of disruption. If you look at some of the revamped co-op stores, say the one near me that used to be a bit of a dingy Summerfield, it's almost like a Waitrose now. Half the store is fresh, there's loads of local stuff in there, the quality of kind of chilled convenience foods gone through the roof. Lidl have really pushed their bakery, that's really popular, but at the same time people are taking out the fishmongers and the butchery counters, so it feels like there's still a desire for kind of fresh concepts in store, but the market and the backdrop, the sort of wider trends are probably changing around what people want as a shopper.
No, definitely. I mean, especially the bigger shops. I mean, Co-op have done a brilliant job at tidying up their shops across the board, really, and getting their offer right, and I think they've done a cracking job recently, and especially some of the new shops. But the big stores have got the big out of town shops have got to attract shoppers and put in sort of concepts like Pancus, and they're doing stuff with like Greg's and stuff, and just changing a little bit, making the in-store experience a bit more exciting, and that's it's great. And everybody's having a look at that. Tesco, Sainsbury's, they're all messing around with new concepts, which makes it really innovative, really, and lots of opportunity. But for small operators like us, and coming up with ideas, and we're always presenting new stuff to the Asda team and stuff, and it's really exciting. So it's they've got all this space. They need to do new stuff with it. And so it's exciting. It's really exciting.
So Neil, just picking up on your point around the fast rollout of the new Panku kind of concept, what do you think has made the concept so engaging for shoppers at the moment? Like, what do you think it is that people are really buying into and enjoying with this new brand that you've created in Asda?
Yeah, I think the success is down a little bit to the fact that there's nothing like that in any other part of the store. So it's new. It looks super fresh. When you go into an Asda and you see a Panku sat there, it's really sort of stands out. It's really bright, something new. It's kind of attracts people to it, and they pick up food, and it's it's tasty, it's nice, it's we're not trying to change the world. We're doing katsu curries and beef bulgogis, and there's a couple of Thai dishes as well as some all the kind of sushi stuff. But yeah, it's really working. So I just think having that super fresh offer, and seeing people make stuff, it's theatre, isn't it?
Yeah. That kind of fresh in-store theatre always creates interest, doesn't it? Yeah. And so go on. What's you've obviously got that kind of diversity, that range across kind of Asian fusion kind of trends. What's your favourite product that you do out of the range? If people were going to go shop a Panku now, what would you say? Right, you've got to try that, or you're missing out, guys.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff, but I mean, it's a bit like when you go to a sandwich fixture and you go, oh, look at all those lovely sandwiches, and then you still pick up the egg sandwich or whatever, or the ham and cheese.
The BLT triple for me, Neil.
But I'm a little bit of because we freshly cut avocado and salmon and stuff in store. It's always the avocado and salmon, roll for me and it's super fresh. But we've done we've done this tuna and yuzu roll as well, which is fab. And then of course our katsu curry it's one of the top sellers, and also it's because it's blooming good. It's really good. So that's another fave of mine. And we're just about to launch some noodles, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. And we've got this Korean fried chicken, which is it's a fried chicken, but it's the sauce that goes over it, which is kind of it's on the money. It's spot on. So I mean, there's loads of stuff, but I always end up picking up the salmon and avocado or whatever happens. There's always a tray of that in my shopping basket. It is a bit of a creature of habit when it comes to stuff like that. But it's just something done really well. That's
simple but executed well. So people, first of all, they should just try all of it by the sounds of it, which is probably what I'd do. But if they're going to go for one, the salmon and avocado, what was salmon and avocado?
Salmon avocado. It's like a cal roll, roll. And then there's and then there's the tuna yuzu is good. But we also do a katsu roll as well.
Yeah,
it's all good, isn't it? It's all.
It's making me hungry now.
It's I might have to drive down into Leeds and pick some up. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. So
yeah.
And
if it's got me planning my lunch at 9:30, it's got to be good.
I don't know where your nearest store would be, actually. I'm not sure. Where are you?
Well, we're in Wakey, so it probably is Leeds, actually, which is only 20 minutes drive, so it's probably worth it for
there's one in... Well, yeah, there's one in Pudsey, which is a good one. Killingbeck, that's good. There's... where would you be? Halifax is a bit far, isn't it?
You've not got one on the Asda Denby Dale in Wakefield yet, then?
No, that's not happened yet. No. Well, we're keeping an eye on it, though.
Let me know. I'll get down there. I'll stump up the fans for the opening. So do you, Neil? Because you obviously got this background in innovation, and you've seen it from all different angles. Do you keep quite a sort of tight control over the creative direction of the recipe development then in the concept?
Yeah, well, we just share ideas with the Yo team, and it's pretty relaxed, really.
Cool.
They're good operators. They know what they're doing, and and they're quite good. They listen to the customers. They're with them every day, and they're kind of regional managers and stuff. They'll suggest, people are asking for X, Y, Z. So we keep a close eye on it, and we've tried some hot stuff as well, putting hot counters in. We keep trying new things. So we'll continue to do that. We think some of we haven't really had a proper go at it through the summer either, so this will be, I consider it to be our first sort of proper full summer running at it, so we'll try a few new things as well as a few like poke salads and stuff like that we're having a look at, and but yeah, it's we'll keep, and I think that you've got to keep it interesting, you've got to keep your offer interesting, and one of the beauties of making it fresh in the store is that you can keep that menu changing if you like. When you're in pre-pack, it's a bit more functional, it takes longer, it's 3 or 4 months, if not longer, of planning. So this is a little bit more, we're a bit more agile, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. So just thinking about leadership. So I think for the guys listening, if they've got an innovation background, I think they'll be really interested to hear me pick your brains a little bit on what a career in innovation looks like. But what would you? So we get contacted quite a lot as recruiters by people that have got a really strong background in chefing and that they're keen to get into food manufacturing or retail because they see it as an interesting sector. What advice would you have for somebody that wants to move from chefing into food manufacturing or retail?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because it's more about the attitude of the individual. You can be the best chef in the world, but you can still not fit into a food development environment. Because your head's not set up in that right space, it's quite different. I think if you're able to cook and understand food, that is one of the most important things you can do, is understand how to develop flavour and understand how to cook. And then when you come into food development, it's about being able to adapt that and then have something that's presentable in a pack and recipes flavoursome, and then working with the price that you've got to the price points and stuff. It's a real attitude thing, and having face-to-face feedback from people, whether it's buyers from a retailer or whether it's colleagues you're working with going, I don't really like that. A chef might normally have quite a big tantrum about that and throw pans around and kick off or whatever.
The egos.
But you've got to learn to take feedback and listen and adapt and change. And a lot of chefs just can't do that. They're used to their little kingdoms in their kitchen, and and they're not used to having customers sat in front of them telling them what they think of you. And that's really hard to begin with. And then you kind of learn how to deal with that, and and how to then become a good development chef, I guess. And it's a little bit about the person and the personality and how you might fit in. You can do great recipes, but can you deal with everything else that's around you? And then can you make it go into a factory and try and convince the production team that this is how they should make it now? And you've got to have all these influential skills, which don't always come naturally when you're in the four walls of a kitchen.
Yeah.
Some chefs think they're great leaders and stuff, but you're now in an environment where you can't tell everyone what to do. You've got to take people along with you. So it's just a different skill set. And I'm honest, I had a traumatic time when I came out of the kitchens and came into work for supply and retail, and having people say they didn't like this or didn't like that, and it's torture. But you get your head around it really quickly, or you don't, and you go back into the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I would say it's all about attitude, listening, learning. You're in a new trade. The fundamental basics of cooking is only part of it. It's a new skill, a new trade, and you have to listen and adapt things to what people want. It's not about you and your restaurant anymore. It's about feeding millions of people and what works for them. So it's just an interesting transition, and it's tough. It's not easy, and some people can't do it. So
it sounds like you need to really want it. You need to want to get through the pain barrier, learning those soft skills to succeed.
Yeah, just listen and learn, and don't try and be the one who knows everything, which is a bit of an environment you're in when you're in a kind of kitchen, and you're the sort of, like, say you're the king in the castle type thing, and then you could enter this new environment, and it's not like that.
Yeah.
You got to take lots of people with you, and you got to listen and and remake things until they're right, and it's just different, and you're still cooking, and you should be enjoying it, and it's very innovative, and it's a great business to be in. When you walk into a shop and see people picking up stuff that you've made or you've been involved in, it's just fab, and they're taking it to the till, and and then you find out that the sales are really good for stuff. It's as thrilling as doing a service in a restaurant and having a good sort of a good night in the kitchen,
Yeah.
So it's got the same sort of buzz, I think.
That's interesting.
So,
Yeah,
it's all about attitude and how you can adapt, rather than I'm a great chef, I can do that, sort of thing. And I've seen loads of it, so it's
Well, yeah, I've seen some guys come in, do 18 months in, development chef, and then go back to the kitchens, in big hotels, just because they haven't enjoyed it. And I think it's interesting, as per, what you've said, we've had feedback every now and again. Look, they were good, good at what they did, but maybe could have worked on the people side, getting on with the gnarly boys in ops. That guy's been in the factory for years. He understands the lines. Just get him on side.
Well, this is it, and I think it's really unfair of someone as an employer to get someone straight out of the kitchen and put him in that environment, expect him to adapt. So they need some sort of skills, leadership skills, influential skills. They need to be trained to adapt. So if you grab someone out of the kitchen and drop him into that environment, it's high risk of losing that person or that it not working for either of you. So I think, as an employer, you've got to take a bit of responsibility and say, we need to train this person how to influence everyone around them, and and help them as much as possible, rather than just chuck them in it. Which I kind of picked that up when I've employed loads of people over the years and brought them out of kitchens and just tried to help them as much as possible. But then, some have been brilliant and some have failed dramatically. So, but it's all about attitude and being able to change and adapt. And you get a lot of chefs say, I'm 30 now and I'm still on the stove, and I'm married and we're having kids and I don't want to work every night and all this sort of stuff. But that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is to try and adapt the skill that you've learned and do it in a slightly different way. So it's tricky. It's tricky, but I would say, for chefs especially, don't just expect us to fall into it, because it's very, very, very different, and you have to learn to adapt and use your skills in different ways. And it's I don't know how I ended up managing 80 people, I think, at one point. And you don't know how that happens, but then you realise that when I was with Asda, which was in my early years in retail, they put you on so many leadership courses and training courses and stuff, and I didn't know I was ready for it, but I was ready for it when I had a lot of people to lead.
Going to be my next question, for people at the beginning of their career, maybe this straight off, chef had a man-met course and that they want to do development in manufacturing from go, or maybe they're a chef and they're looking to move into the food manufacturing sector. What do you think starting your career in a supplier gives you versus a retailer? What are the sort of pros and cons of both? Because you do find that people, they get a slightly different flavour to their career and approach from having worked supplier side or retailer side, I think, in my experience.
Well, I think anyone in food development should really have spent some time in manufacturing, I think, in the supply base. And often you see, whether it's chefs or product developers, just drop into retail and they don't understand the manufacturing bit, and I think it's a real mistake for them and for you've got to understand how, even if it's whether it's just the process, and when a retailer asks for a sample of something, what actually happens to get that sample to you, and the effort that goes into developing food, developing recipes, how it's processed through a factory, what challenges they all have. So I think it's really important for chefs or food developers to spend time in manufacturing. Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting.
And I've had people working for me in retail, and I've gone, you need to get out of there and go and work at manufacturing for a bit. You need to change, because you don't know enough about it. If you want to be really good at your job and be the best at it, go and spend a year in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And you'll be much better. And oh, you know, 'cause it's, you know, people feel safe in certain environments, but if they want to move on and be better, get some experience elsewhere.
Go and work at an
And
alley industrial estate in
yeah, in
Valahumba.
Wrexham or something. Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, but you got to do it, and you know, and getting a factory, see how it functions, and all the challenges that they have, and because you can get a bit hairy fairy, or I've seen it certainly. You know, you got your developers or whatever in retail, and oh, maybe we could have it like this, or put this on top, and sprinkle this on, and do that. And, I mean, it's just not possible. You've got to be, you got to sort of look at the practicality of what you're asking, and if you spend some time in manufacturing, you'll have empathy with all sort of all the processes involved in getting a product to shelf, and I think that's really important. You know, and I'd say to developers as well. You know, learn to cook.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not, you're a project manager, really. You know, learn about food, or really all you're doing is project managing, which is fine, and you need project managers, and a good MPD manager will manage a chef really well, get the most out of them, and project manage, and you know that's great, but yeah, it's. No, I think it's important to spend a bit of time in manufacturing, and great if you're then in a retailer. It's fab because the two most important things about food development is knowing what you want, so having a good vision of what you want, and then approaching the right manufacturer to make it. Because a lot of people ask manufacturers to make things that they can't really make, and they spend loads of time and money and effort in changing processes, when actually there's another factory down the road who can actually just make it. So it's knowing what you want and knowing who can make it. I think then your process is easy. Mm-hmm. But you know that's the way I've always.
That is really interesting, because one of the things that we found when we speak to guys in MPD is there is a massive stress. I think just an inbuilt sort of gravity towards the technical skills, but from what you're saying there, actually the people skills, it sounds like, really, you know, to be truly excellent, you've got to crack the stakeholder management. You know, you've got to have that technical skill set, that love of food as a baseline, but to really excel and to push the boundaries, you've got to know who to pull on. You know, have that empathy, that humility to you know, understand other people in the process, in the value chain, in their world, so you can influence.
No, it's totally. You know, I've employed some of the best chefs ever, miles better than me, miles better than I would ever be, but they just can't communicate, can't do it. They never get anything done, never get anything over the line. Or you know, and it's you know, it becomes frustrating for me as someone who's trying to manage them, and for them, you know, trying to make their way into a retail role or whatever it is. But you know, it's because they just cannot. Get anybody to help them do things, because they're only a small cog in a big process. To get you know, whether it's product development manager or a chef, you know, they don't realize they're a very small cog in a huge process of landing something on a shelf. You know, there's all sorts of stakeholders to manage, and having those skills is really, especially as a MPD manager or whatever, you've got to take people with you, and like I say, when you know, in my early years with Asda, they were brilliant at you know, every year I'd do different courses and leadership courses, influencing courses, and you know, I was a proper like prisoner. I really didn't want to go on any of them, but you know, well, I don't need to come here. You know. And anyway, you know, at the end of it, you're like, wow.
It's like my son Neil. Dad, I don't need maths. I don't need to use maths.
But you know, I even went on because when I was at Asda when Walmart took over, and I was one of the guinea pigs for the Walmart Institute, which is a leadership course, and I was like, oh my god, what am I doing here? It's like 5 days locked up in this, you know, country house hotel that was dying a death sort of place. But anyway, it's brilliant. You know, it's fantastic. I truly found myself.
Did you?
But no, it's
Your
just
mountaintop experience, Neil.
Yeah. the wheel of influence. And all that. Yeah. Okay. But it does just help you, you know, manage things. I use this. There's a guy called Nigel Risner.
Yeah.
And apologies if you were going to ask me this question and I've answered it early, but
no, that's good.
He's got this little book that I refer to, and it's for simple people like me who've got just sort of simple values and stuff and try and get stuff done. And he's got this thing called about zookeeping. Right. And how you manage people.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's a bit like the colours guy. I can't remember the colours it's called. You know, red, yellow, green.
Yeah, I like the colours.
What's that called?
It's the Jungian. It's based on the. Well, I think they just call them Jungian colours insights. That's what they did on the course I did. But it's yellow, red, blue, green, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit similar to that, but miles better.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, lions, tigers, dolphins, elephants.
More interesting.
And then you're the zookeeper in the middle, and how do you manage all the, you know, the lion's aggressive and bombastic and blah, blah, blah. And the monkey's like creative and skips around and annoys people. And, you know, the dolphin just wants to be everyone's friend and make everybody happy and plans all the nights out and does, you know, just wants all the team to love each other. And then the elephant's the spreadsheet person, the process person, and it's like, how do you mix them and manage them and look after them and your team? And that's that, you know.
And that's Risner, is it? You say?
Nigel Risner.
Nigel Risner.
Yeah, and I like it because it's for it's very, you know, I left school at 16. I've not got a degree or anything, and it's just simple. There's a simple way, and now you look at people in a team, and you know, when I've picked up new teams and gone, well, there's a lion sat in the corner growling at everybody, and how do I, you know, that lion will never ever be able to communicate with the dolphin because the dolphin sat in the corner petrified, you know, and it's just how you manage these people who have to work together. Mm. They have to work together.
Yeah.
And it's called Zookeep. And I think there's a couple of other versions of it, but Nigel is the best one for me, and I quite like him. And I've used him a couple of times to help me build team sort of. And I think I bumped into him at Asda actually, a long time ago. And I had a big project where I had like 300, 400 own brand suppliers, and I had to get them to do stuff. I needed them to change, and he helped me do a bit of that, and he was good at it. So, and I've used him ever since. So, he's not a very likable, he's a really good speaker, but you know.
But he's a lion.
He's really good, and he kind of makes you not like him at first, because he's like a bit of a show off, and then he gets you to like him, and he's just really, he's so clever. Anyway, that's the sort of thing he uses. He's, you know, when I'm struggling with, I've got a bunch of people that you've got to influence and get things done. That's the type of sort of way I help manage those situations.
Yeah.
And that's going back to the chef thing, and it's just all about you know, learning to manage situations that you might never have been in because you've been stuck in a kitchen somewhere. But that is all about training. And 11 years at Asda, they were brilliant at it. I was on more courses than Red Rum. You know, it was like really, really good. And I didn't know how good it was until I left.
Yeah.
You know, so and then you start using some of that stuff because you're in new situations. Nigel's quite good. I've done lots of stuff, but that I think the main point being is you can't just expect to lob someone in an environment when there's loads of people to influence and just expect them to do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, from the employer and the employee. So yeah.
No, that's really useful. And that answered my final question very nicely, which is what resources would you recommend people look at to develop the skill sets you're discussing? But that's really helpful. I always get a lot of good feedback from people that they, you know, recommendations are useful. And
Yeah.
I do think there's a piece around professional development which comes back to your first point, which is if you don't want to master your trade and you're not reading or looking to sort of do a bit of self-development on the side in just whatever bandwidth you've got. It doesn't have to be a book a month, does it? But you need to always have a bit of an eye on it. Then you're not developing that attitude, that hunger to progress, are you? And I think it is really important for people to take ownership for developing their own leadership capability, because it's very easy, isn't it, to sort of whinge on, my company's not giving me what I need. But sometimes it's just about taking advantage of what's already there. Sometimes like with the training courses, you miss the opportunities that are right in front of you, and actually you might not necessarily like the speaker, it might not be in the venue of your choice, you might not like your colleagues, but if you can invest the time to go and take advantage of the resources available, and you just need to get one thing from it, don't you, for that hour invested, then it does pay dividends, doesn't it? You invested in your career.
The simple things that when people every retailer I've worked for, you have to do the one-to-ones every week, and they've all got personal development plans, PDPs, and you're doing and you're assessing them all the time, and you get so book yourself on a course. All right, yeah. Then 4 weeks later, did you book yourself on that? No, I didn't. And get yourself a mentor. Recommend so and so for you, because it's complete opposite to you. Why don't you ask that person if you'd be a mentor for just have a couple of sessions with them? And if you're in a management position, which I have been, I would only be expecting to once or twice a week mentoring somebody, and you ask them, have you spoke to that? No, I haven't done that. Do you want me to do it for you? No, I'll do it. But then, so there's all these people who moan about stuff but never do anything, and and you encourage them, and it's enlightening sometimes when they do, spend a bit of time with other people and hear about themselves from another person's point of view, or hear about how they might manage a situation, and it can change people quite dramatically, and I think it's important. You've got to take the ball. You don't expect to wait for it to happen to you.
Yeah.
You just as a go and find stuff. I'm always a great believer in creating your own luck. If you're not there, what was it? Woody Allen. What's the secret to your success, Woody? And he's like, just being there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
He rocked up at every audition, if you're not there, it ain't going to happen, is it? So, and it's just a simple, just go, do it, try it, be the person who puts their hand up, and rather than the one go, oh, I'm not doing that, and it is what it is. But if you want to develop and become, get up in the morning, go in the factory, see the factory trial, rather than be the one who gets there later on and goes, oh, that's not very good. That doesn't taste how it should be. Well, you should have been in the factory at 4 o'clock this morning doing it, learning about it. It's if you're not there, I always say to my kids, if you haven't done anything, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they look at me like I'm a real knob, but if you don't get up, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, we're the same with our kids. Kids are quick to whinge, and I always just say to my son, I say, look, whose behaviour is your concern? Oh, yeah, it's mine. Is it pretty difficult to manage your own behaviour? Because I don't mind you, but I find it difficult to manage mine. Yeah, it's actually. I'm like, well, it's not going to change that, so get used to it.
We're being very annoying human beings, can't we? But it's because we always know better. But it's get up and do something, and it'll be fun. And,
sure. Yeah.
And it's always one of my values is to have as much fun as possible and enjoy it. Because you can wonder. I've always enjoyed my work. I mean, it's obviously lots of down times, but always really enjoyed my job, and I feel lucky about that. So yeah.
That's really good point to end on, Neil. Just to summarise, if you're listening, guys, yeah, work on the people skills. You know, be good at food. Work on the people skills. Enjoy your job. You know, take advantage of your own and accountability for your own leadership development. But Neil, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been really great.
Oh, Richard, no problem.
Really appreciate picking your brains, and I hope the listeners will do as well. If people want to follow you, follow Panku, where can they find you? You're on LinkedIn, all the usual stuff?
Yeah, well, I don't really do much LinkedIn, but we're on Instagram and stuff. So Panku Streetfood, I think it is, and I do bits on Insta. So Nugent's Kitchen, I am. So Instagram is you'll find Panku on there, and there's a couple of other brands we've got, which like Collaba Kitchen and other things that we do. So yeah, you'll find us on Insta.
Smashing. Cool. Right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. And guys, go and follow Neil, and more importantly, go and try out Panku. You'll enjoy the salmon and avocado. You heard it here first. See you next time. Thanks to FMCGjobs.com for supporting this video. FMCGjobs.com is a global job advertising solution for the fast-moving consumer goods industry. Register for free as a candidate and create your specific job target to get live updates and alerts. Head over now to FMCGjobs.com for your next opportunity. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Check out the playlist here for more content like this. Click the donuts to subscribe so you never miss an update, and give us a like and a comment so we know what content you'd like to see from us. See you next time.